Welcome to the Saturday morning preview show here on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Kerry Pollock Tam McManus and Alison McConnell are here with me. By the end of the weekend, the top six will be decided. A lot of if, buts and maybes coming up. Tam, let's start with one of the deciding games of the top six, Motherwell against Hearts. Who do you think will grab that final spot?
My head's saying Hearts and my heart's saying St Mirren or Motherwell.
One of the three.
Yeah, listen, I fancy Hearts to win the game.
Yeah.
Motherwell, a little bit up and down under the new manager. Poor result obviously last week down at Kilmarnock. Listen, it's all on the line for them as well. They know if they win, you know, they're above St Mirren at the minute. You know, they could probably get in the top six. So I think Hearts will sneak it 2-1. And part of me is saying I want Hearts in the top six for another Edinburgh derby.
Yes.
But then Hibs would need to travel to Tynecastle. I think they'd be at home to St Mirren. So I think if you're a Hibs supporter, you want them in the bottom six. So I'll go for Hearts to win, but
Hearts through. Ali, would you have thought with the season that they had last campaign that Hearts would have had a top six spot cemented by now?
Yeah, I think traditionally you expect Hearts to be one of the big hitters every season. I think if you were to look at the beginning of every season and say who do you think is going to be the top six, you would go for all the big clubs. You would have Hearts and Hibs in there. However, as it transpired when Neil Critchley got the job, Hearts were sitting at the foot of the table. They had a desperately poor start to the campaign, and it's really about being in the recovery position ever since. So I think it's interesting. I think if Hearts don't get that top six place, it feels like a failure across the season. I think the pressure is on them. If you look at the budget around the club, the resources that they have compared to Motherwell and compared to St Mirren, then I think Hearts should be there.
Yeah.
And I think there is a pressure on them to go and deliver.
Scoreline for this one?
I think Hearts will win, but I think it'll be fairly tight, and I'm going to say 2-1 Hearts.
2-1 as well. St Mirren also going to try and sneak their way in. They take on Ross County. Tam, Stephen Robinson says that of course you would rather have it in your hands, but still reaching their points target by this point of the season is an achievement in itself as well.
yeah, listen, I think they've been very consistent under Stephen Robinson. St Mirren, they know they've got to beat Ross County and hope the other result goes their way. Basically hope the Hearts don't win. So listen, I think they've got a chance. I think they'll beat Ross County at home. I like St Mirren at home. Good result last week, a couple of weeks ago against Kilmarnock. So I think they will win, but I don't think it'll be enough. I think they'll maybe just be edged out by Hearts. But it's interesting because the team that obviously finishes in the top six won't be in any relegation trouble. So it's not just getting in the top six, because I think the 3, 4 and 5 are kind of tied up. That's sixth place, you're going to finish sixth. But I think it's just a case of you're not going to be in relegation bother, which I think would, particularly for clubs like St Mirren and Motherwell. So I think St Mirren will win. I think they'll win comfortably, but I don't think it'll be enough. I'll go for 3-0 to St Mirren. 3-0
St Mirren. Ross County, Alice, a tough side to contend with, but 3 defeats in their last 3 outings.
Yeah, I think it's been poor across the last couple of weeks for them. Again, I think St Mirren will win in Paisley too. What will be interesting though is if St Mirren score early. I think if St Mirren score and get an early foothold in that game, and then news filters back, as it inevitably will, to Fir Park, it starts to put a lot of question marks in Hearts' minds, and then how they cope with that will be interesting. But I have to say, I think St Mirren will be up for it tomorrow. I think they'll win. I think they'll win comfortably, and I think they know that all they can do, the only thing that's in their control is to go and win their game, and I expect them to do so. And I think I'm going to say 3-0 too. 3-0
as well. OK then, Celtic take on Kilmarnock. Some more permutations for them as well. If they beat Kilmarnock at Celtic Park and a defeat for Rangers tomorrow, that would mathematically mean Celtic have won the league. But it just shows you, Tam, that not every game is a given, i.e. last weekend.
Yeah, listen, I think Celtic will be looking to bounce back. I think Brendan obviously had strong words, not only in the press last week, but probably the players after the game. I think there'll be changes within the team. I think he's not happy with some players that may be complacent. And I think there'll be some changes. So he doesn't want players getting comfortable in their positions, and I think you'll see that tomorrow. Kilmarnock have been really disappointing this season, I think. I think defensively they've been all over the place at times. Great result last week, obviously keeping a clean sheet, but I don't think Celtic will towel them or run them over, but I think Celtic will win the game comfortably. I'll go 2-0, but I think Celtic need to show the supporters today, that they're up for the fight still, and they want to go and finish the season strongly.
Absolutely, Ali. Will Derek McInnes feel his side have underachieved this season when you look back at what they did last season, or did they overachieve last time round?
No, I think he'll feel as though he could have got more out of them this term. I think what happened was they started poorly because they were trying to compete with the demands of those European qualifiers, and I think they were on the back foot right away, and I don't know that they quite recovered from that. And then of course you're missing key players at key points of the season. I think Vassell was a huge loss for them. I think he offers so much, not just in terms of holding the ball up and giving them an out when it comes to goals and just his influence, but also just what he brings to the team overall. I think they've missed him hugely. And I think when you're at a club like Kilmarnock, when you lose key players like that, I think it can really resonate. I think you can feel like you don't really have the depth to be able to cope and compensate without it. So I think it's been a tough campaign for them. They've never really got out the bit. They've never really found any consistency or fluency. I think it will be home form that will probably keep them up and keep them away from the drop. But I don't think their season gets any easier tomorrow afternoon. I think they're facing a Celtic team who will have a point to prove. I think they'll be smarting from that defeat against St Johnstone last weekend. I think it's been very insipid from Celtic since that Bayern Munich defeat in the Champions League, almost as if they're now coasting towards the end of the season. And I think Brendan Rodgers made his feelings on that quite clear. So I think you'll see a reaction this afternoon at Celtic Park.
And what are you going for?
I'm going to say 3-0 Celtic.
3-0 Celtic. Finally today, Dundee United face St Johnstone. Jim Goodwin's side have secured a top 6 spot, but they take on a St Johnstone side who are nipping on the heels of Dundee, Tam.
Yeah, listen, it depends what St Johnstone turn up really. If they play the way they played against Celtic last week, then they could possibly go and get a result. I think they need no points. I'm not used to them at the minute, St Johnstone. I think they need to go for wins. Dundee United, great result against Hearts, keeps them right in that mix for top 3. So difficult one to call. I think Dundee United might just nick it. I'll go for 2-1 to Dundee United, but St Johnstone were really impressive last week against Celtic, but I don't know whether people lift themselves again for a lesser game. So I'll go for 2-1 to Dundee United.
2-1 Dundee United. Mentality-wise, St Johnstone will fancy themselves going into this one.
Listen, I think they are fighting for their lives at the bottom. I think that was evident last weekend, the way that they approached the game against Celtic. And I think if you were Simo Valakari this week, your message would be it is utterly pointless winning that game, banking 3 points against Celtic and then going out and slipping up. They need to take something. I agree with Tam. I don't think a point's enough. They really need wins. I do wonder if Dundee United maybe just take their foot subconsciously almost just off the gas a bit. They know their position's safe. I know that they'll still be vying to climb further up the table, but I just wonder if St Johnstone's hunger might be greater in terms of what's at stake for them. I'm actually going to say that I'm going to back them to win.
Oh.
1-0 St Johnstone.
1-0 St Johnstone. Tomorrow then, Rangers take on Aberdeen in the Granite City. Will Barry Ferguson stick with a similar side, minus a few injuries, Tam, from what he put out on Thursday night?
I don't know. I think he might rest a few players. I think that's such a massive game for him next Thursday. Listen, they're going to finish second. I don't think there's any, it's cut and dried basically, and they can't catch Celtic. So I think he might rest a couple and bring some players in, freshen the team up a little bit. But Aberdeen, I get, the need's great for them. They've gone for third place, and it's difficult to call with Rangers as well away from home. I'll go for a draw in this game. I'll maybe go for 2 each, but
2 each.
Any result wouldn't surprise me. If Rangers turn up and play well, they'll win. If they don't, I think Aberdeen can beat them. But I'll go for a draw.
Aberdeen are picking up a bit of pace, as Tam mentioned there, Ali. Undefeated since that game against Celtic in February. What do you expect from them?
Yeah, there's always a bit of spice when the teams meet, particularly at Pittodrie. I think both teams have elements riding on this game. I think Rangers maybe less so. However, Aberdeen, no. I think if Aberdeen don't get third after the way they started the season, they'll be sore. I think they had it well within their grasp. They were miles in front of anyone else, and I think allowing that to slip will be really difficult to stomach. Rangers won't want to slip up and hand the title to Celtic without them even having to put their boots on and heading onto the pitch. I think also too they'll have an eye on Thursday night. They'll want to keep the momentum going. They'll want to build on that. And just keep the positivity, find a bit of positivity and just find a bit of results. So I'm going to say Rangers will edge it 2-1.
Rangers will edge it 2-1. Finally, Hibs face Dundee in Edinburgh. Hibs looking to go 17 league games undefeated, Tam, but boy, do Dundee need something from this game. Is this more of a must-win for Dundee than it is for Hibs?
I think it's big for both teams. I think obviously Hibs are in third place at the minute. They want to stay there. They'll know that Aberdeen have got a tough game. In fact, that's before Hibs play, so that could have an effect on the game as well. If Aberdeen don't win, Hibs have got a chance to go and stretch the gap. But I can only see a home win here. Hibs have been so consistent over the last 3 or 4 months, and Dundee, I'm still not convinced about them defensively.
Yeah.
I think they've got goals in them. I think they'll score, but I think Hibs will win. I'll go for 3-1 to Hibs.
3-1 Hibs. Dundee have a bit of an up and down season, Ali, taking points from Celtic and Rangers, but slipped up in those games.
Yeah, I think they've just toiled for any kind of consistency. I think there is a soft centre there. I think defensively they can create headaches for themselves at points. I can't see beyond Hibs. I just think Hibs, just now for me, are the form team in the league. I think they've been exceptional since the turn of the year. I think a fantastic result at Ibrox last weekend, and they very much have third place in their sights. Yeah, I'm going to go for a Hibs win, 2-0.
2-0. Right then, let's go on to the quiz. The rule is, Ali, no shouting out.
Yeah, wait
To wait till the question is finished. All right, first question. Liam Kelly has represented which other Premiership sides?
Motherwell.
Correct.
Quicker
than Ruffy.
I was actually going to shout that out as soon as you said.
She's quicker than Ruffy, Tam. How many points separate Hibs and Hearts in the league table?
11.
Correct. 1 each. What nationality is Rangers defender Robin Proper?
Dutch.
2-1, Ali.
Oh my
That was a bit of a draw.
Oh, she's kinder than Ruffy. Oh, we go draw there? I think you said it, but...
VAR.
VAR. Right, okay, we'll go 2 each then. Before St Johnstone, who were the last team in the league to beat Celtic?
Rangers.
Correct. And you need this one. Dundee United's mascot is
Slim Neck Ali there.
which animal?
Bear.
Wrong.
Brock's a bear, no?
Dundee
Dundee
United.
United?
It's the Rangers.
Panda.
It's a lion. I think Ali took the one there, Tam. It's been easy. It was a pathetic performance. Well, we'll be back next week with some more action to look forward to. Thanks for watching.